Hello and welcome back to day 3 of IAE, the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. Day 3, November 21st, 2951, has to do with Aegis Dynamics. So this is a very neat company. They're very militaristic in nature. They have a bunch of different offerings, including some new ships that they just released. And so we're going to be going through that right now on just type of ships you can buy, as well as my opinions on kind of the use cases and, really what the bang is for your buck. If you like this video, please go down, like, and subscribe. And let's jump into it. So, day 3, Aegis Dynamics. So, Aegis Dynamics continues to proudly define the future with some of the most distinguished military-derived birds in the game. And to start it all off is the new Aegis Redeemer, which is new, flight-ready ship that you can buy. It is a gunship. It was designed by the players years ago, and they finally brought it in game. Went through a few iterations, and now it is finally flyable. So Aegis continues to bring its trademark power and lethality with the universe's most fearsome multi-crew gunship, and we are going to check this out real quick before we go back and see some of their older ships. So the Redeemer. This thing is a beast. It's going to be a beast. It's a little slow to fly, but it has massive firepower. Definitely going to be a good escort ship. Bounty hunting might be a little bit out of its range because of it might have a little too much firepower and not enough speed. So you may have difficulty catching up with some of them. So the Aegis Redeemer, so overwhelming firepower, has some great shots, some great armor, some great defenses as well. Multi-crew. So first we're going to talk about the manual turret. So there are two manual turrets. They're located on the top and the bottom. The bottom one faces forward and it's kind of fixed in the first 180 degrees. The top one I believe has 360-degree range, which is great. It comes equipped with Bering ballistic Gatling guns that provide swift and precise offensive power. These are good. They're good turrets, and they can really dish out a lot of DPS. You then have twin missile racks equipped with 8 Strike Force missiles from Thermite Concern. So you're gonna have 8 missiles. It looks like 2 of them, so you have 16 missiles, which is gonna be great. I don't know what size these are. I'm assuming they're sized 3, but don't quote me on that. I'm not sure exactly what size these are, but they're going to pack a punch. Pilot controlled, of course. You're then going to have remote turrets. So you have 2 remote turrets. You have one facing forward, and then you have one covering your butt on the tail. So bow and stern mounted remote operated laser repeaters from Bering, complete with Redeemer's formidable collection of offensive firepower. So these are going to be really good. You're going to have protection, of course, because your operators are going to be sitting inside with you right next to the pilot seats. You're also going to have shields. Continue to receive upgrades with every model each year, adding even more quality and protection to the famous robust defense configurations. These are going to have really, really good shields. You're going to have thrusters, which it talks about, patented vector lock thrusters, tech deliver robust combat stability, allowing you to keep enemies on their toes at all times. So yeah, the wings are actually interesting thruster capacity, as they seem to add a more stable mount. So you're not going to be kind of twisting and rubbing all over, even in atmosphere. So these thrusters, it takes away from speed, I believe. That's why it's a little bit slower, but you're going to have a more stable mount so that you can actually fire properly, and your gunners can actually, hit targets without being, constantly kind of thrown about. Which is good, especially because this is a major gunship. And then, of course, you have crew quarters. Nothing lavish, but again, this is military style. So you're going to have bunks, crew of 4. So, comfortable and long range, and I believe there's also captain's quarters. So you have your 4 gunners, your 2 remote, your 2 man turrets sleeping here, and then you're going to have separate captain's quarters for your captain. So that is the Redeemer. Okay, yeah, so here we go. We're going to break down. So the lower manual turret is dual size 5s. You're going to have the front remote turret is dual size 3. pilot weapons. So the pilot controls all the weapon systems. Individual layout puts the pilot in control of all weapons. So yeah, so you can the missiles, and I believe you can slave the remote turrets to the at least the front ones to the pilot as well. An access ramp in the back. You're going to have a gun, a size 3 remote turret in the back as well. You're going to have vector thrusters, more stability. And then, of course, on top, you're going to have another size 5. And then, of course, the cockpit. Yeah, shields, overpower shields, and armor. So twin bespoke rack of 8. Says size 2, I believe, missiles. So then it goes down to all this. I'm not going to get into it. I'll have a separate video, but the Redeemer is on Warbond right now, I believe with LTI, for $275. Not a bad deal if you have a bunch of friends. So this is a crew of 5, so you need 4 other friends that like to blow stuff up. This is probably the best ship for you, at least at this point in time in the game. It's new. You can get LTI. And it's some pretty neat skins for it as well, and it's just a massive gunship. So definitely going to be fun, especially in Xenothreat or maybe in fighting the Vanduul. It's going to be a lot of fun there, and of course you can also buy it just the regular ship for $325. So it's on discount right now for $50. Not a bad steal, especially if you can get with LTI, because you're going to be in a lot of combat with this thing. Non-Warbond, yeah, and then the non-Warbond concludes 10-year insurance. So that's not too bad. Either is a good choice. I'd probably go with the Warbond because it's a little bit cheaper, but that's up to you whether you want to do that. And then there's some paints, pretty neat paints. My favorite's probably this Seraphim paint, just all white. Really neat. Then you have kind of like a snow camo, and then of course you have the Redeemer Underworld. Yeah, right here's the snow camo. I believe that's all of them. So that is the Redeemer. So next generation gunship. If you have some friends, would love to check it out. I'd say this is a really fun ship to have. A lot of guns, if that's your thing. I can't really do much of anything else, but a lot of guns. A lot of fun to blow stuff up. So with that, we're going to go back to the main page, and we're going to scroll down to the other ships on sale. So we're going to filter this to go from price from low to high. Okay, so the first we have is the Avenger Titan. You're gonna have, this is a $55 option. It's also a starter ship. If you didn't get this as a starter ship, it's a nice ship. Probably a buying game. As this is just a regular starter ship. It has a bunch of variants. It has the Stalker. It has the Renegade, which I believe is the racing variant. And then you have the Avenger Warlock, which this is the EMP Pulse. So this is going to disable ships. If that's your type of gameplay, this is the ship for you. It's pretty cost effective, but it has kind of its only utility. It has the same guns on front that the rest of them have. It just has this giant EMP pulse. So for $85, I don't know if it's worth it, because that's really the only thing it has going for it is that EMP pulse. So this would probably be something I'd say buy in game, although it is pretty expensive in game, and this doesn't actually go on sale often. So if you'd like to pick one up just so you have one to fly around at any time, this might be the time to do it. Then have the Gladius at $90. Again, this is another starter ship. This is going to be one of the main ships that you fly in Squadron 42. It's basically the backbone of the UEE military. It's pretty fun. I haven't flown one myself. But it's got a very traditional, human fighter jet, look to it. So if you like that, you can feel free to pick one up with that. You have a variant Gladius Valiant, which is, I believe, a little bit more militaristic. So it's a little bit higher in price, but essentially very similar to before. You have the Retaliator base. If you like bombing, this is for you. You then have the Combat Stealth Fighter, which is the Saber. I actually like the Saber, even though it does have basically the same fighter pilot look. It does, I think, scream a lot, especially with those giant engines. It's very alien, kind of futuristic, very utilitarian in nature. It just has a very sturdy, like it just cuts right through the air. It's a really neat ship. Tons of guns on it. And yeah, it's also a stealth fighter. So if stealth is your thing, but you also like to give a, pack a punch, this is for you. You then have the Saber Comet, which is a little bit different. The paint on this is 10 out of 10. I mean, the paint job, I don't know why they went all out with the Saber Comet with this paint job, but it is just incredible. A little bit more firepower, I think, than the regular Saber, and because of that, it's actually a little bit more expensive. You have the Saber at 170, $15 more, 185. You get the Saber Comet, but the paint job is just beautiful on this. It definitely seems like it's meant to blend into space. That camouflage is just beautiful, especially with the blue accents. It's a really cool ship. Probably one I'm going to pick up in game. Because it's just a regular fighter. But I mean, beautiful design ships as they usually do. So, and then you have the Vulcan, which is the in-concept ship. So it's a medium repair, medium refuel, medium rearm, and it's a drone ship. So you can see these drones flying around. It's going to be able to repair and refuel ships mid-flight. I don't see many unless you're involved in the org or have like a large group of friends, I don't see you wanting to pick this ship up. Because I don't at least not at this point in the game, you're not going to get a lot of utility out of it because drones aren't in the game yet. Repair and refuel isn't in the game yet, especially not in space. And there's no missions for it. So you're not only going to have a crew, and I think of 4 to operate the Vulcan. You're going to need a crew of 4 to operate the Vulcan, and then you're not going to have any ships to repair unless you're with friends. But that's a large group. $200, not a bad price. This is going to go up, especially when this is released, just because of the utility that you get with this ship. It's very bulky, but it's going to hold a lot of drones for a lot of different options and processes. So good ship to have, especially if you're in an org. But if you're a single player, probably pass on this one, at least for now. You have the Vanguard Hoplite, another gunship. Really neat. It's kind of like a gunship, dropship sort of deal. You have the pilot. You have with massive guns. I think you have some missiles on this, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% sure. And then of course you have the turret. And yes, it's a dropship. Again, not too much utility in game yet, but really cool looking ship. Great name. And it's a dropship if that's your thing. You then have the Vanguard Warden, which is the heavy fighter variant, less dropshippy and more gunny. Again, a really neat ship, tons of firepower, and if you like that sort of thing, pick one up. But the price is a little steep, so I would say if you are going to go in on it with some friends, like you like the look of it, I'd say that's the only reason you should be getting this ship. You then have the Retaliator Bomber, which is the heavy bomber variant of the Retaliator. If bombing, this is yours, but again, it's pretty steep for bombing kind of being relatively new and, not really much utility yet. Vanguard Sentinel, which is the interdiction of combat. I haven't actually seen many of these out there, but it's a different weapon loadout, different paint skin, which again, the paint skin is just beautiful. But yeah, this is more if you like the Vanguard, I'd CC you up to this, or if you wish, you can buy it outright at $275. It might be a little bit pricey, unless you really, really like this ship and are going to fly it around quite a bit and use it to do missions. And you have a friend. The Vanguard Harbinger, $290. And then you have the Eclipse, which is another bomber. This is like your regular stealth bomber, that you see in today's United States or in many different militaries around the world. Looks very similar, flies very sleekly. It kind of cuts through the air. The price tag, it's just very expensive. I know it's supposed to drop a really big payload. It flies under the radar, but it just doesn't have the range. So you're gonna have to have this on a larger ship. You're gonna have to play, with friends so that you can, get around quickly, bomb, and then get out of there. So not a lot of utility left or yet in the game. So for $300, I can't really recommend this one yet, but it is flight ready. So if you want to, test out bombing, feel free to pick this up or buy in game or rent, Aegis Day. You have the Redeemer, of course, which is on sale, $325. Gunship, we already talked about that one. You have the Reclaimer, $400. This one is flight ready, but there's no utility for it yet, as salvage is not in the game. If you would like to do salvage, as there is a lot of money to be made in salvage in the game when it comes out, this is the ship for you. This is probably going to be the largest salvage ship in the game, at least for a couple years. I don't see them coming out with any sort of alien salvage ships anytime soon, and I don't see them coming out with a larger salvage ship in game at all. I think the Reclaimer is going to be the salvage ship of Star Citizen, at least for the UEE. They might have some variants, with various upgrades as the years progress, but I think this is going to be the capital of salvage, at least for the foreseeable future. So if that's your thing, if salvage, you definitely want to get into that gameplay. This is going to require a massive crew though, so I wouldn't recommend this if you're trying to get your feet wet. But it's a very utilitarian ship. It's kind of very garbage truck kind of feel to it. But then again, it is a salvage ship and a lot of money to be made off of this thing. You then have the Hammerhead, which I believe we're getting close to the end. A couple more ships left. The Hammerhead, just a massive gunship as well. No real other utility other than a massive gunship. Really lays down the firepower. I think there's 6 not remote turrets, 6 man turrets, as you can see, each with 4 size 4, I believe, or maybe 4 size 5 guns. I think it's 4 size 4 guns on each, and then of course you have the pilot seat down there. It is a massive ship, iconic design that looks like the Hammerhead. $725 is steep, but if you have a bunch of friends, this is going to be a massive org ship, definitely like a Corvette style gunship. It's going to be a lot of fun to play and a lot of fun with friends. So if you have a bunch of friends, pick this up. If not, you're not going to get any utility out of it if you're just the pilot, because I don't believe the pilot controls any weapons on this thing. So you're really relying on your crewmates to get rid of the threats. You then have the Nautilus. This is the mine layer. I'm going to be coming out with a separate video on this one. I don't see the hype that a lot of people give to this ship. It's a mine layer, and I mean, mines are going to be something in the game. I just don't see them being that effective at all for anything. I mean, that could change depending on how this game progresses, what type of missions that come into play, but I don't really see, unless this is something like Xenothreat or the Van Duel or something like that where these things can be used against large ships. Space is huge, so laying down a field of mines, unless you have a few of these, I just don't see this being that useful of a ship. Besides the dual size 7 cannons on the front, that's really the saving grace of this ship. But it is massive, lays down tons of mines all across space, and mines will be damaging. I just don't see them being as good as everyone thinks they're going to be. But I'm going to come out with a separate video on this and kind of break down what my thoughts on this, because it may still be a good, Corvette style ship, because it is the only mine layer in the game. You then have the Idris P, and these, I'm not going to talk too much on these because these are probably out the price range on most people. They're cool ships. They're military ships, similar to the Javelin, which I believe is probably the ship up, ship up next. But the Idris, it's going to have, I think, 3 or 4 landing pads on the inside. It's going to have a giant rail cannon on the front, and this can actually land in atmosphere, unlike the Javelin. It's going to have a lot of significance in Squadron 42. I don't see you seeing this that often in the persistent universe, simply because it's so expensive to run and upkeep and requires such a massive crew. Only the largest orgs are going to have this in their fleet. And then of course you have the Javelin, which, if the Idris was going to need a massive fleet, this is going to need, or a massive crew, this is going to need an even bigger crew. As you can see, it's got 6 of these cannons on the side. Manned cannons. You have 2 up front, 2 on the bottom. I think you then have a couple more spaced around the ship, so that's just the guns alone. Not to mention the engine room, the pilot seats, the the missile racks. I mean, I forget exactly how much this is, plus the value, $3,000, and this sells out every year as a limited ship. Sells out every year. People are buying this for the hype, just to say that they own one. This is going to be a very rare occurrence in the early days when the game releases, and probably even in later days, especially after 100 star systems. You're not going to see this out in space a lot, or if you do, it's going to be docked on a space station. It's not really going to be moving. It's just going to be there as a deterrent if something happens, especially as Vanduul raids, kind of pick up around the universe when they're finally introduced, or other alien races. This is going to be kind of that big deterrent, but you're not going to see this that often, and unless you're part of a large organization, one, you probably don't have the money to pick this up, and it's just not worth it because you're not going to be able to fly this thing unless you have a massive crew to upkeep. But it's an incredible ship. I can't wait to see this in Squadron 42, and in the Persistent universe. So I hope I do. I mean, I've played the game for a little bit now, and I've never seen one of these out in the Persistent universe. So it's it's an incredible ship. Now it is in production, so while they do have capabilities for it, I don't think you can actually fly this around yet. So maybe that's why I haven't seen too many of them, but it's I don't see seeing many of them regardless. I mean, I never see the 890 jump, and that's been out in the game for a while. It's just too expensive to upkeep. So that is all that we have for Aegis Day. If you want to talk out the jacks for Whitley's Guide, they have a Redeemer video, and pick up some shirts if you wish for that. But thank you for tuning in for Day 3 of the IAE. This is Citizen Sedao, and I will see you in the verse.